Sustainability is the core challenge each brand is facing today. Luxury brands are in principle better equipped to address this challenge, as they have always aimed at offering durable pieces whose superior price is justified by superior quality that guarantees their value and time, making them literally timeless. However, to meet the needs of customers who are more and more used to continuous innovation, many luxury brands have started to inject into their own strategies some degrees of accelerated speed, which is typical of fast fashion markets, by shortening their cycles and dropping more often new collections into a consumption scene that systematically requires new stories to share into the social landscape. How are more and more environmental conscious consumers reacting to this kind of trend? In which way do they have started reshaping their approach to consumption to keep satisfying their own need for novelty without compromising the future of our planet? There are two main answers emerging into consumption modes that are reflecting also into new business models within the industry. Let's shortly dive into each of them. First, in their continuous search for distinction through unique products, responsible customers have begun to rediscover the exclusive value of vintage products, which are objectively different one from the other because of the peculiar story they are imbued with. Thanks also to the development of fashion marketplaces and second-hand luxury consignment platforms, pre-owned, also often labeled as pre-loved items, are flourishing and finding new legitimization within the luxury world, alimenting a business which, according to BCG, is expected to count between 10 and 20% on the overall luxury market by 2030. Buying a vintage piece is no longer just a way to individually save money, but also a more noble and socially accepted means to avoid unnecessary waste while enhancing the potential for recognized product differentiation. This spontaneous consumer trend has pushed some luxury companies to invest in and even acquire independent second-hand platforms in order to systematically monitor the phenomenon and have a full picture of their own customers instead than pretending to minimize its relevance. A second interesting answer that especially millennials are providing to environmental overexploitation comes from applying their access-based culture also to the luxury world. The pay-per-use approach, which is characterizing most part of their daily consumption, from music to entertainment, from hospitality to car sharing, has inspired a broader lifestyle that puts the same notion of ownership under discussion. Millennials today seem to prefer living truly unique experiences than buying exclusive objects. As a consequence, luxury brands are blurring the lines between aspirational products and exceptional experiences. Players from different industries, ranging from fine food to travel, from well-being to hospitality, are getting into closer competition for both consumers' share of mind and of wallet. In the uber-luxe world, high-end consumers are looking for self-gratification through unrepeatable experiences, more and more often shared in real time through social media. It's surely a more intimate approach to luxury, which, however, does not reduce the potential for showing off to the extent that full satisfaction, especially for millennials and Gen Z consumers, comes from real-time posting into the enlarged communities of reference, today sized by the number of followers. This need to have always something new to share has pushed these younger consumers to change their own approach to luxury goods. They do not necessarily need anymore to own a high-end object to feel and signal status. They just want to access and use it when desired. The so-called everything as a service logic enters the consumer wardrobe, and rental becomes a new viable business model also for luxury companies. We have run quite extensive research based on experimental design on this emerging consumption mode, discovering a few quite interesting things. First, a broader audience can familiarize with otherwise inaccessible brands and experience them firsthand, even if temporary. In this way, luxury companies can somehow educate a larger portion of demand and possibly impact on brand loyalty in the long run. Second, the pay-per-use logic effectively addresses the sensitivity to sustainable consumption. Our studies prove that renting luxury items instead of buying them does not affect the perception of status that each customer feels when displaying them. However, this happens at the expense of self-perceived dishonesty. In other words, consumers self-attribute equal status when renting, but they are somehow aware they are cheating. And this effect is even more pronounced in the perspective of external observers, who also attribute lower status to consumers renting products. Exploring contingencies, however, we discover that this kind of deception feeling is significantly attenuated when consumers already own some similarly positioned items. In this case, rental is a way to simply enhance variety. For instance, to avoid posting two pictures with the same outfit on Instagram. And smart consumers start preferring traditional purchases for iconic, timeless pieces, while opting for access-based consumption for new trends. Even more interestingly, we found that especially millennials show more positive attitudes toward rental, decrease dishonesty feelings, and enhance their willingness to communicate to peers their rental choice when they are in an environmental conscious mood. In other words, when consumers are more sensitive to responsible consumption, access-based luxury triggers proudness and word of mouth. So renting luxury becomes just a clever choice to responsibly increase a consumer's wardrobe variety and an interesting new partner to explore by luxury companies that want to make a meaningful statement into a more sustainable environment. Thank you.